sometimes we are our own worst enemy as humans. Sometimes we head towards the easy way. And in my keynote presentation, I often talk about the fact that as humans, we are capable of doing extraordinary things, from a physical abilities perspective. We can run marathons, we can do all these things, we can ride our bike, 60 kilometers and et cetera. But at the same time, we're hardwired as humans to have what I call a lazy gene, to take the easy way. And so to your point of listen to your employees. If your employees are saying, well, we want active mobility, we want the ability to help us, help accommodate us in being able to ride our bikes, to this, corporate campus and this business park, et cetera. But what if the employees, because they have that lazy gene, are saying, no, what we really want is more car parking. We want you to subsidize this even more. It sounds like what you're saying is that the corporations should sort of stand up to the inclination, the natural inclination of us humans to be lazy and to take the easy way and say, trust us, it's good for you. No, we're not going to provide more free parking. No, we're not going to subsidize taking the car.
I know that the KPN company did that with here within the Netherlands. They put a carrot in front of their employees instead of limiting their kilometer compensation to the tax-free maximum. What many employers do is they raise it. I think they raised it up to 40 cents. That was a very, very, very big carrot for people to say, well, bloody hell, no, I'm going to bike that. That's where the money is.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Active Towns channel. My name is John Zimmerman, and that is Peter Nouwen from s-Hertogenbosch in the Netherlands. And we're going to be talking a little bit about strategies that employers can have to get sort of happier employees, more productive employees through active mobility, and discussing some rather interesting and peculiar incentives that some corporations are giving over there to encourage people to drive motor vehicles. Say it isn't so. Anyways, before we get to that, I just want to say, if you're enjoying this content here on the Active Towns channel, please consider supporting my efforts by becoming an Active Towns ambassador. You can join Active Towns right down below here on YouTube. Just click on the join button down below, as well as just navigate over to activetowns.org. Click on the support tab at the top of the page, and there's several different options, including making a donation to the nonprofit, as well as becoming a Patreon supporter. Patrons do get early and ad-free access to all my video content. Okay, let's get right to it with Pete. Peter Nouwen, thank you so much for joining me on the Active Towns podcast.
Thank you.
Pete, what I love having my guests do is just say a few words about who the heck they are. So please introduce yourself, about 30 seconds.
Yeah. My name is Pete. I'm a health and safety guy. I'm mostly the annoying type of health and safety guy who's nagging. I have about 20 years of experience. I'm working with the Hubsub brand of the grip company in Eindhoven. But that's enough about me. Let's get started and talk about how to get to work and not in a car.
Yeah. And we have some similar background in the sense that the first 15 years of my career, I worked in the corporate environment. I worked for very large Fortune 500 companies, including IBM and Motorola, et cetera. And I was part of the health and safety team for those companies. I did a fair amount of injury prevention, but mostly what I was working with was healthcare cost containment efforts and disease prevention. And specifically, I was building out corporate fitness facilities, gyms on huge, massive corporate campuses. And we're going to, in a little bit, we'll play a classic video, or at least the intro of a classic video from Jason Slaughter with Not Just Bikes, the one that he did on the Gym of Life. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. Yeah, but you said 20 plus years of experience doing this work. I'm now this year I'm 60 years old, and so I'm now at 35 years of experience in doing this, which is just mind-boggling to me. Where did time go?
Yeah, indeed, and I'm only 44, but indeed, yeah, 20 plus years yeah, with health and safety. 'Cause, I think I just always drifted in that direction, and that's where it started. So I was always taking care of people, and people came to me with questions of, hey, how should we do that? And then in the end, it was, how should we do this safely?
Yeah, yeah.
But and with your level of experience, be prepared to be interviewed, because most of health and safety work is listening.
Right. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So you might get a sore throat.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we've established that you're Dutch and you're in the Netherlands. What city are you located in?
I am located in s-Hertogenbosch, which is the same city as Mark Wagenbuur from Bicycle Dutch.
Yeah, yeah, I love that city. It's such a delightful city, and he's been so gracious taking me on a couple of tours around the fine city, and it's fantastic. And of course, he was originally from Utrecht, and I've spent lots of time hanging out there, and lots of time hanging out in some of the other big cities in the Netherlands. And we'll talk a little bit about that whole dynamic, and maybe, dispel some myths about, the Dutch mobility systems and some of the things that are out there. Share with us a little bit about what you're most passionate about in terms of these topics. You mentioned active mobility and being able to get to work and to other meaningful destinations. What part of that is really, really got you, passionate and riled up and excited about?
Well, the most important thing is that um, there's a couple of things going on where I love driving the car. I just hate standing still a car, which is a pun that I make on purpose. And especially in the commuting in the commuting area of the Netherlands, that standing still your car is very easy, and they leave it idling and just burning fuel. And a couple of things that I found out when I was commuting by bike to work is also that I'm happier, more effective as an employee. That's from a personal perspective. And then when you are a health and safety professional, you start thinking about, wait, um, how did that happen? So is that just me, or is it more general? And what's going on here? Especially when I had some hands-on work experience by getting into a burnout. I recovered by taking up small jobs and biking there. That's what got my lungs back in order, and that's the way I got back on track.
So Pete, yeah, it's fascinating that you mentioned that you started to like see that impact with yourself, which brings up one of your favorite videos and one of my favorite videos from Jason, which we alluded to earlier, which of course is the Gym of Life videos. Let's play the first 30 seconds or so of his classic video, because I just love it. And he and I had talked a little bit about this even when I interviewed him. I can't remember if it was the first time I interviewed him or the second time, but talking about how our built environment can really help facilitate just living a healthy, active lifestyle and not necessarily having to go to the gym and do a workout. So let's play the first 30 seconds or so of Jason.
The other day I cycled 14 kilometers, and the next day, 27. And the day after that, I walked 3 kilometers. None of this was particularly notable, and I didn't really consider it exercise either. It's just part of living in a walkable, bikeable city, what I like to call the gym of life.
So we'll turn the volume down on Jason's narration. We'll just let his video sort of play in the background for a little bit. We can always turn the volume back up later, but we want to encourage people to go. If you haven't already watched this particular video from Jason with Not Just Bikes, make sure that you head over and do that. He does such a great job, and he's got a great sense of humor with that. Tell me, what resonated with you about this particular video and the work that you do and some of the things that you're passionate about?
Well, the most important thing that I found out is that equally to what Jason says, is I just hate going to the gym, and I love food. And here in s-Hertogenbosch, we have great food. We have there's a lot of restaurants with great food, and I love cooking. But I'm also one of those guys who gets big in the stomach very easily, so I have to do something about that. And the other thing is that I personally hate paying for idling my car. So let's stop with that also, and also wasting my time standing in traffic, which is great. Well, he's taking up the example here. So if we put that together, then I'm going to try to commute in a different way. And the main part is that I'm going to take one car off the road again, and I'm working on my health, which is pretty much a benefit for me personally. But the thing that I found very complicated is that does not really resonate with employers. So I do not know. Maybe you can tell me more about that. You have in that part, you have a lot more experience than I do.
Well, I can certainly speak to the sort of the U.S., the American sort of perspective from an employer's perspective. The whole reason why I had a 15-year career is that many large employers have a vested interest to try to make their employees as healthy and safe as possible, because they are on the hook for the medical bills associated with that. Most large employers are self-insured, which means every single heart attack that happens, every single cancer that happens, high blood pressure, diabetes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, hits the bottom line of their profitability. So they have a vested interest for that. Of course, in the Netherlands, it's a little bit more complicated and a little bit more nuanced than that. But there's also plenty of other reasons why employers want to have healthy, happy, more productive employees. And certainly active mobility helps reinforce that, which is some of the themes that Jason does address here.
Yes, it is, and then I can put a bridge to another video that I found very interesting from Wendy Suzuki. She one time mentioned that the as a professor of neuroscience, she in a TED talk, she talks about her own story from being a lab rat and being the weakest person on a holiday which she hadn't had in years, and after that going to the gym, turning from a lab rat into a gym rat, and also finding out that that boring work got easier. And my scientific mind thinks, okay, how does that work? Because I don't do scientific work, but I do it usually when I'm just sitting down. I have to do a lot of thinking and a lot of fast thinking. And how does that work? So I bought her book, Healthy Brain, Happy Life. I read it, and in there she lays out the ways to actually what actually happens with your brain if you are going to the gym, or if you're going to the gym. And one thing that does happen is you get more attentive immediately. That's result one. As soon as you have dropped one drop of sweat, you are more attentive, you have a better mood, and you're having a better focus. So even if you switch modes just once, it will have an effect. But the knock-on effect, if you do it every day, is even bigger.
Right. Yeah. And what's interesting too is that we're sort of making that connection between activity and exercise, which is the whole point that Jason's, making in this video, is that he is realizing that the necessity to try to manufacture activity, workouts, is being taken up by just being able to get physical activity, moderate, sort of physical activity daily by going about one's life, versus having to manufacture an artificial situation, similar to like what I used to create by building fitness centers and health clubs on corporate campuses, encouraging people to come in to do that. And that's a very artificial thing. I mean, from throughout the entire length of the human body, we were naturally active, just going about trying to survive. For tens of thousands of years, we, our range was right around 10 kilometers or more when we were hunter-gatherers. I mean, we would have to just get out and do stuff. And so this reality that we see on screen right now in the video is really foreign to our biology. Our biology has not evolved enough in the last 120 years to be so sedentary, to be driving away or driving from place to place only to sit in an office someplace. And so this is a very, very foreign thing. It's a biological mismatch.
And it's not good, not just for our brains, but for our brains either. Especially as white-collar workers, especially if you're a white-collar worker, you are expensive and you need to do stuff. The lovely point that Wendy Suzuki makes in her TED Talk and her address is that, and I don't know exactly where she specified it, but she did some tests on subjects, because she has her own neurolab and a neurological laboratory where you can put people into an MRI. And afterwards, people were, and she did tests on them, and people were more productive immediately after doing exercise. And it held on for about 3 to 4 hours, I think, because they didn't extend the test on any further, which was mind-blowing, because that is actually the moment that you get in at 8 o'clock. You are productive, and as soon as you start seeing, you have a lunch walk, and you go out again have some exercise, and work the rest of the afternoon.
I was just going to ask you, are you familiar with Dr. John Ratey and the book Spark?
Nope, haven't heard of it. What's it about?
You're gonna, especially since you like Wendy's work, I think you're really going to enjoy that. Spark, he really gets into the brain science and that connection between physical activity and what's happening at the brain level, especially in the hippocampus. And so I think you'll find that very, very interesting. And he specifically looks at the impact of physical activity with children. So that's one of the areas of emphasis of study. And in the book Spark, really looking at the positive benefits of children getting physical activity in on a daily basis, especially on their way to school or early, once they get to school, doing something physically active. And it's funny when we see the visual on screen right now, the difference between a fietser and a Wielrenner is that, wheel runner, if you want to translate that, for English, the difference between just going about your daily life, getting to places versus a sports cyclist. But what's really interesting in that book about Spark and the relevance that I see to Dutch society is the number of children that get to school by getting on their bike or walking to school versus getting picked up by a bus, a school bus, or worse in the United States, being delivered to the doorstep to doorstep by an SUV, by a car.
Yeah. Can I make a guess on his results? Because my guess is that they are that the kids who are actively who work actively have a more developed brain.
Yeah, absolutely. And also suffer less negative consequences from attention. And some of the things, the exact same things that you mentioned. Now we're looking at a scene here with just tons and tons of people walking in these environments. And I documented this in Utrecht this past year in 2024 of just the massive number of Dutch employees going out for a walk during lunch. Now, I made the wrong assumption that they were actually walking to go get lunch from the office tower buildings, where right near the central station, and they were walking towards the historic city center, and where there's lots of restaurants and cafes and coffee shops and the right kind of coffee, not the wrong kind of coffee. Yeah. And I was corrected in saying, oh, no, they're probably not going to eat lunch. They're probably just going to get some physical activity in, because it's encouraged by their employers to go ahead and get out, get some fresh air, get some exercise in. You'll be more productive when you get back. That's a really cool cultural thing to see.
Indeed, but I personally think that employers could be even more proactive in that perspective. There's a lot of salt left on the table there. I don't know if that's the right proverb, but it just works. And there's a lot of low-hanging fruit that you could just take off. Because the problem with those very healthy brains of kids and students that are coming right out of school is the first thing they are going to get is get a company car, and they are just sitting. And if I don't know if you have heard that one of the phrases about sitting, sitting is pretty much like the new smoking. So if you're going to provide your employee with a company car, all they're doing is sitting. And I don't know if that's if we can do that in the future. But one of the lovely things that I did with myself as a guinea pig is to track my own activity and my own burn calories, and how many steps that I'm taking between during working hours. With different modes of different mode of transport. When I'm biking to work, okay, I'm not walking, so I'm not taking so many steps. Only until 6 o'clock. After that, I'm free to do whatever I want. So I want to go for a run. I will probably burn more calories that day. But one of the things that I saw is as soon as I take my car, and also if I am working from home, then I'm not walking. I'm not walking anymore because I'm working, and I'm not taking those steps in. And if I am that also correlates with the amount of calories that I burn, which is very low. It's like in the just over the 2000s. It's like nothing. So that's problematic. But as soon as I'm getting out, I'm getting that 15-minute sprint towards the station, and sit in the train for about half an hour, and then again, and on the other end, I'm getting that other 15-minute sprint. Then and at the end of the day, I'm going back that way. Then I'm easily getting into the 3,000 calories a day. I'm not going to the gym, so I'm not paying for a gym membership. And at the end of the day, I'm home with my family. The only thing that I do is commuting, and that's very valuable. The second thing that also happens is as soon as I am pumping in that oxygen while while moving to the station and also taking and also making the sprints and taking those steps, because especially in Utrecht railway station, you need to walk a lot. It's big. It's not Shinjuku, but not it's not very well. It's not very small either.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Got many platforms, so well, if you are at platform 20 and the bike and you have to get one of those lovely OV feats at platform 1, then you have to get there. That's also what happens. But if I go by car, I just walk outside here. I step in, I get in. I drive for a couple of minutes. I will join the queue, pretty much, which is very frustrating. And after about 45 minutes, and then I'm going to be in Utrecht for work, and I'm getting. I'm putting in many. I'm getting in a lot of fewer steps than I would want to. So if I'm going to guinea pig myself, then I would say that as soon as I'm going to do something active, then I will really put in the work, and I'm doing that before I'm going to work. And if we correlate that with research of Wendy Suzuki, then she says, especially when in her book, and also in the other talks and podcasts that she did, for instance, with the Humor Lab, she says that you should work out before work because it's more effective. You can work more effective if you work out before work. Okay, who's got the time to go to the gym first and work afterward? Well, go to the gym of life.
Right. Yeah.
Hit your eyes
To use Jason's phrase once again, the visual that I have running on screen right now is actually just a really delightful ride that I love doing from the village of Houten into the city center of Utrecht. And so one of the reasons why I find this so fascinating is the time of day that this is at. Most of the flow of the traffic coming up against me are, people coming home from work as well as kids coming home from school. And yeah, to your point, is like that's an important thing to really embrace, is that ability to get some low level physical activity before school and before work, and then also after school and after work is really, really, I think, impactful. And one of the great things about what we know about physical activity, and again, I want to emphasize, it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be, really, really exertion. It doesn't have to fit into the category of this is working out and really, really strenuous. Even lower levels, moderate levels of physical activity have tremendous benefits mentally, emotionally, and physically. So really, really important. And one of the other things that I always love emphasizing about the infrastructure, the built environment that allows people to get to meaningful destinations, is that it truly is all ages and abilities. We just went past a person in a mobility device, a mobility scooter or electric wheelchair. Incredibly important for people to have mobility options. And that's the key. You mentioned it earlier, is that this is really not a dialogue that is a war on cars. It's not anti-car. It's about having mobility choice. Maybe on certain days you want to drive. Maybe you like driving on occasion, but you have that ability to choose. And you can choose, if it's a beautiful day like it is on this video, hey, this is a great way to get a little activity. And you mentioned it, some fresh air.
Indeed, and sometimes I go crazy on my racing bike, and I have such a backpacking. I have a backpacking bag behind my saddle, so I can also make 80 kilometers, and well, we should bike commute together from s-Hertogenbosch to Utrecht. Maybe if you have the opportunity, and then we should do that, because between Houten and Utrecht, that's not even the best part.
Yeah, yeah. How many kilometers is it from Den Bosch to Utrecht?
52.
Okay, that's very doable. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's for me with my lung capacity. I have a VO2 max of about 42. That's an average of between 25 and 30 kilometers an hour. And when I'm not having the wind against me, then it's 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
I know for some people that's crazy, because well, even 15 minutes is for some people already crazy. Then it's like, okay, it's if it's more than a mile, then I'm going by car. Okay, well, that's your choice. You do you. I'm getting in my exercise, and I'm not going to burn fuel because I love my wallet.
Yeah. I want to go back to something that you had mentioned earlier, is that sometimes employers are incentivizing and subsidizing the use of automobiles. And I think that there's like this assumption, especially for us in North America, and we think that we look at these images of the Netherlands and think that it's an active mobility Shangri-La. But you alluded to it earlier, is that some employers are feeling like, hey, we have sunk costs here. And from an economic model, what a sunk cost is that we have already invested in these corporate company vehicles. We want you to use them, and they, will incentivize the use of them versus the use of public transit and OV fees and things of that nature. I know that irks you a little bit. Explain more about that tendency and why companies should rethink that.
Yeah, how am I going to put it on a good way? The narrative, especially how things are being incentivized here, for especially from really pretty much like a policy perspective. You can do, as a government, you can do a lot to encourage active mobility and reduce the wear and tear on roads. So you have to spend less on repair, but you should do it, and you should do it properly. What's going on right now here is that mobility is a bit of an afterthought, especially for businesses. Well, and maybe it shouldn't be, because just as I said, you're leaving 10 to 30% of productivity on the table, productivity rights on the table, and for which you can get for every employee. And the tendency is to right now to follow the narrative of the Dutch equivalent of the IRS, but pretty much need to do some NLP, because if you follow the narrative, then there's something like 3 boxes. There's the box where you get your own mode of transport, and you get and your employer can tax-free cover your expenses per kilometer. The second box is that your employer can provide coverage of public transport, and the other is to provide your employee with a company car, which is by far the easiest mode. And the narrative right now, and especially because it has been implemented for so long, the path of least resistance is to, okay, just give them a car, they're flexible. And then I think, well, most people don't even need a car. And the point is that as soon as you as an employee, when you have a car, you're going to get rid of your own car, and there's a very sturdy wall in changing your mode of transport again, because, well, you have that car, it's a nice car, and part of it is being paid for by your employer, and it's very hard to go back. Another bit of the narrative is that as soon as you are you're in one mode of transport, you're pretty much stuck. other ways of transportation, then you're gonna get back from your employer like, hey, I'm providing you with X. I'm not going to put you in Y. And what I hear is that the incentive in I don't know about the incentive in the United States, but that's what's going on. That's what's going on here in I think it's in Europe. Yeah, I think it's pretty much what's going on in Europe, and changing the narrative and changing the use of language from a government point of view might be some of the ways to change it, because especially for commuting, for a healthy society, then active commuting, then just active commuting is pretty much like top tier or gold tier. In a Shangri-La, everyone would bike and the roads would be empty. That is not the case. Last week, when we recorded, there was a record a record level of traffic again, and there was a dip during the Corona pandemic, but since then, traffic the people stuck in traffic the amount of traffic is going up again. So Shangri-La, no, that's not here. If you find it, please tell me.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that is always important to reinforce is that we have situations where we might be incentivizing and subsidizing certain things. And so you talked a little bit about that, and I can verify that, yes, in many cases here in North America, we do have employers who give incentives to, offset the cost of being able to drive one's vehicle. And there's many other incentives that subsidize the use of motor vehicles, but they don't do the same to subsidize and incentivize the use of public transit or active mobility. And I think that absolutely that should be done. At the national level, it seems like there should be some pressure that gets put, from the national level on local municipalities as well as employers to encourage people to have what we call in North America, and maybe you guys call this as well, is TDM, Transportation Demand Management. And what that means is really trying to level the playing field in terms of the incentives for all modes of transportation, and trying to shift the number of single occupancy vehicles down, encourage people to either carpool or take public transit or active mobility modes. And employers can incentivize that. Municipalities, cities, in the United States, we have what's called chambers of commerce. Chambers of commerce representing businesses in like a historic or downtown area of a city can kind of pool their resources together, because we know that for every additional car that comes into the city, the quality of life goes down. Versus if we can have more people walking and biking, the quality of life actually goes up. And when I say quality of life, I also mean the effectiveness and vibrancy and vitality of businesses too.
Yes, because at the end of the day, people don't. Most of the people that are going shopping, they don't. They don't drive into your businesses. Only if you're a drive-through, and then the amount of people that are driving through your business per square foot or per square meter, that's not very much. Personally, I think that businesses don't really like to bother with, especially business leaders. They're not getting excited over working with policy, but it's the same thing as that regular people don't like to work on good habits. It's more like the thrill seeking stuff. But good habits keep you healthy until you're 70. And the same is with good policies. It keeps your company healthy. So as soon as you've done that right, then you can then you can pretty much go back to work on great products again. And but the thing is that what I found is that most companies and most businesses, they are just following the narrative and okay, don't bother with me. Don't make it more. Just read government policy and implement it the way it's being said. And that way, in that way, because it's being followed. So because that policy is being followed so blindly, then a local government or a provincial or a federal government, especially with tax incentives, can set the narrative and the way people and the way companies implement their transportation policies. And as soon as you are not thinking and just following the narrative, then you are leaving a lot of money on the table, which is a shame. Because personally, if I'm standing in front of a crowd and I'm asking especially a group of employers with the question, who likes to have more productive employees? Well, all hands are going up. That's easy. This is who. And if I ask it again for who wants to have more productive employees without raising without paying them more, yeah, higher. And that's possible. Just you need to think about you think a bit about your policies. The stupid thing is that you especially need to think about transport policies. Some people can there are employees that just need a car. Sales representatives, they're going all over the place. So in order to do their work properly, they probably need it. But if someone is coming from place A going to place B, where your company is positioned, ideally, especially if they are within a 20-mile radius or less, it is counterproductive to let them commute by car.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not your business.
It's interesting too, because as this video is sort of rolling here, and we're seeing that as we're making our way into the city of Utrecht, we're seeing that there's this combination of shared space where we have motor vehicles, and then fietspads where it's just active mobility participating on the streets, and it reminds me that, again, in your narrative that you're talking about here is this acknowledgement that the Netherlands, just like every other country around the globe, especially post-World War II, really embraced the automobile. And it's just been in the last 6 decades or so, where it's been like, wait a minute, we went too far in that direction, beginning especially in the 1970s. A lot of cities, a lot of municipalities across the country in the Netherlands started to say, oh, wait a minute, that going modernity, trying to think of the car as the way of the future, that necessarily wasn't the right path. There has to be a healthy balance. Cars are a tremendous technology and has great value for us. So it's not an anti-car thing, but we need to have a balance in terms of what I like to say is mobility choice. And this is a great image that we have on screen right now, where we see plenty of people on bikes. We see the rail right there above us, and we just had several cars drive by. And so we have
the feet. To be honest, they are really popular. Yesterday I was a bit late. I was on my way to Utrecht, and I came there after 9. And he said, it's not going to happen. I don't have them anymore. After 9, they're gone.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I tried. That brings back a really fun story from this past summer. I had a friend of mine who was coming in from Amsterdam, and she wanted to get an OV fiets there at Utrecht at the central station, but she was coming in a little later, and they were all gone, and there was a huge line of people who were waiting to get an OV fiets. And so we were like, okay, well, it's a new plan. We made a new plan. We jumped on the train and went to Houten without a bike and picked one up there, and were able to do some things around the city there, the village there. But yeah, I mean, talk about, I think, a really successful sort of integration of public transit and active transit. And you had mentioned earlier that if you go too far down in supporting one mode versus another mode, especially when it's the car, you might just continue just using the car the entire time. But what I love about that integration of public transit and bike share, OV fiets, is that you can, that last kilometer or 2 kilometers or 3 kilometers to get to your ultimate destination could easily be handled by that active mode of shifting and getting on the beautiful blue and yellow OV fiets bike to finish your trip off.
Well, in my case, it's always 5.
5 kilometers,
if you make the picture that as soon as you have to travel like 5 kilometers, then it takes at a normal speed it takes about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
On an OV feet.
Yeah, I love it.
You can
I love it.
Much faster because you're cycling your legs off. That thing has no gear.
Exactly.
That thing is made to survive you.
Yes, exactly.
Not the other way around.
Yeah. To close us out, Pete, what final points would you like to make sure that we leave the audience with? This has been fascinating. Thank you so much for bringing this up. But if there's anything that we haven't already touched upon that you want to make sure to re-emphasize, now's the time.
Yeah, one of the things that I think is very important to especially if you want to grab this opportunity and go for it as an employer, then you should advocate as well as residents do to get a bike path onto your business park, because especially bike commuting, that's just an end-to-end thing. What you mentioned is you had to change plans as soon as the OV feeds ran out, because that is a combination of bike, public transport, bike. That's where the gold is. People will hardly ever drive to a train station, get on a train, and get a car again as soon as they are there. I hardly ever see it happening. But taking your bike, go to the station, put it in the bike parking, and then at the other end, take out your bike and bike for 5 kilometers. That's 15 minutes. Why not? And if you're going 7 kilometers, then you're pedaling like 20 minutes, because at the normal speed you're going 2 minutes per kilometer. No, 3. Sorry, that's too much. You're going 3 minutes per kilometer. So the radius where you can provide your people with a bike train bike opportunity, that's quite big. The problem is, and the problem starts as soon as those bikes are getting too popular and they are running out. Then you also need a tram in front of your business, because walking 5 kilometers takes an hour, not 20 minutes, not 15 minutes. So we'll be pretty much stuck. So if you are a business, and you want to grab that opportunity, one of the things you can do is listen to your employees, change your own policies. You should also get in touch with your neighbors to advocate with the municipality for bike infrastructure, as well as public transport on your business park.
sometimes we are our own worst enemy as humans. Sometimes we head towards the easy way. And in my keynote presentation, I often talk about the fact that as humans, we are capable of doing extraordinary things, from a physical abilities perspective. We can run marathons. We can do all these things. We can ride our bike, 60 kilometers and et cetera. But at the same time, we're hardwired as humans to have what I call a lazy gene, to take the easy way. And so to your point of listen to your employees. If your employees are saying, well, we want active mobility, we want the ability to help us, help accommodate us in being able to ride our bikes, to this, corporate campus and this business park, et cetera. But what if the employees, because they have that lazy gene, are saying, no, what we really want is more car parking. We want you to subsidize this even more. It sounds like what you're saying is that the corporations should sort of stand up to the inclination, the natural inclination of us humans to be lazy and to take the easy way and say, trust us, it's good for you. No, we're not going to provide more free parking. No, we're not going to subsidize taking the car.
I know that the KPN company did that with here within the Netherlands. They put a carrot in front of their employees instead of limiting their kilometer compensation to the tax-free maximum. What many employers do is they raise it. I think they raised it up to 40 cents. That was a very, very, very big carrot for people to say, well, bloody hell, no, I'm going to bike that. That's where the money is. So you have to think about, okay, I want this. How am I going to incentivize my employees to actually do it? And the thing is, you have to make it a path of least resistance. Will always be people who are going to drive. You're never going to incentivize everyone out of the car. Some people just love driving, and they are going to do it. But just as Jason said, I am not a cyclist, but I bike to work because I know it's good for me. So I can go and have a good dinner again because I love eating. And the other thing is that you have to incentivize people to. You have to give people a goal and a target and to incentivize people to change their habits. I do not want to go back because I know I will get very quickly fat, grumpy, and I will lose my memory. And then again, the other thing is that I have my father as an example. He's over 70 right now. He's turning 72 this year, and for his 70th birthday, we went to into the woods to I don't know how to call it. It's pretty much like a preset tree climbing park. I don't know how to call it. They call it everything, but every time I see it, it's okay. It's the preset tree climbing park, and he was pretty much like the oldest guy in the whole park, and he was up there with his grandkids, grandpa and grandkids up there. And what did he do? He biked to work every day.
Yeah. And I think that's a really compelling thing for us to end with here is that what we're really talking about here is that this is good for business. This is good for the city. This is good for the municipalities. It's good for the government as a whole, at the national level. But more importantly, it's also good for us personally.
Yes, it's especially good for me personally.
Exactly. And the longevity and being able to interact with your grandchildren and maybe even if you're lucky enough, your great grandchildren and have vibrancy and vitality and being able to do things, fun things with them for these future generations, really, really important. The other thing that I'll end with, in my kind of final observation, it reminded me as we were looking at some of the video that was flowing from Houten to Utrecht, there was the amount of embrace that you got from the greenery and the green sort of thing. So we've talked a lot about the physical benefits, and the health and well-being and all of that. But we also talked about the changes that physical activity has at the brain level. But I'm reminded that having that opportunity to get out on the bike and be able to get from one location to another, and also have that opportunity to be sort of embraced by greenery and the green aspect of it, is really good for mental health, and helps with reinforce what we had talked about earlier, is you just feel better when you're arriving at your destination, whether that's your destination is at work or school or home.
Yeah. And also, if you're talking about mental health, one of the things that especially that being active or transport or taking active transport is it reduces your anxiety, mainly because being active just releases a happy hormone. So I don't see a lot of road rage on bike paths.
Right. Yes. Yeah, exactly. And we've brought this up a couple of times here on the Active Towns channel with several other Dutch guests that have been on the channel, where we've also reinforced that when we're out there, in real life, IRL, in real life, having like little interactions, human to human interactions on bikes and walking, it's like you have a different relationship, a different interaction than when we're in our hermetically sealed metal boxes on wheels. And it's a subtle little thing. It's everything from, body language and eye contact and little signals and signs. And it really, we're seeing that the sociability of having that sort of human interaction is a low level sort of relationship that you have with those around you. And one of the things that I find particularly delightful about trying to get around from location to location in the Netherlands is that, for the most part, it's a much more relaxed environment than other locations. And I'll give you an example, and I guess this will be my final point, is that when I compare what it's like, especially when I make these trips side by side, where I'll be in the Netherlands and then go to Paris, or I'll be in Paris and go to a place in the Netherlands or London or other places, is that it's a much more relaxed environment. Getting from place to place is typically on a relaxed upright bike. You don't feel like you're in a racing situation. You had mentioned your racing bike. I have racing bikes as well. And it's much different thing when you're on like a relaxed upright Dutch style bike or an Ove Fiets than when you're on your racing bike. And what I've noticed,
yeah, no, though I'm going to commute on my racing bike if I'm going to Utrecht, because it is
for sure.
It's much faster.
Oh no! That's a good point to clarify. Is the distances there's a different tool, an appropriate tool for different things. So when you're going the shorter distances of like 5 kilometers or less, it's like And that's one of the things that I notice about the culture and how it feels to get around to meaningful destinations in some of these other cities, is you feel like everybody's racing. It's like and it's a much different sort of feel. And because it's a much different sort of feel, it's not as relaxed, and you don't feel like you've got that. It's sort of like what we just saw on the images of riding from Houten to Utrecht. It's a very relaxed sort of chill, I'll use the word chill, environment versus an aggressive environment. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, though I have to say that as soon as I'm entering a city like Culemborg or or Geldermalsen or Utrecht itself, then I find that I'm slowing down. I'm slowing down to everyone around me because the racers have a bad name. That's the problem. So just step. You know you're on a racing bike, but you're also commuting. So step down from doing the racer and go to doing the commute. As soon as you're back on the open road, just step on it and go for it.
Right. Yeah. Let
there's
those kilometers fly by.
Yes, and then one of the routes that I take is when I'm driving to work is that I'm driving alongside the Amsterdam Rijnkanaal, which we didn't see, but is lovely, and the sunrise there is magical over the water, and well, you can race big ships.
Right. Yeah.
That's
and it makes it fun. It gamifies a little bit of that experience. Well, Pete, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for joining me on the Active Towns podcast.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Hey, thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Pete. And if you did, please, hey, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and share it with a friend. And if you haven't done so already, be honored to have you subscribe to the channel. Just click on that subscription button down below and ring that notifications bell. And again, if you're enjoying this content here on the Active Towns channel, please consider supporting my efforts financially by becoming an Active Towns ambassador. Super easy to do. Just click on the join button right down below or navigate over to activetowns.org. Click on the support tab at the top of the page. And there's several different options, including becoming a Patreon supporter. Patrons do get early and ad-free access to all my content, as well as you can make a donation to the nonprofit. You can leave me a tip on Buy Me a Coffee. There's several others. Anyways, thank you all so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. And until next time, this is John signing off by wishing you much activity, health, and happiness. Cheers.
And again, just want to send a huge thank you to all my Active Towns ambassadors supporting the channel financially via YouTube memberships, YouTube super thanks, as well as making contributions to the nonprofit and joining my Patreon. Every little bit adds up and is very much appreciated. Thank you all so much.